There are battery electric buses operating in many cities across Canada. Edmonton is currently the city with the lead.
Really? You're going to bring up Edmonton? Gregor, why? It's a tough one here today. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, Mark Carney's got his unelected majority government from floor crossers and a couple of by-elections here. With that, we've got the guy who's been involved in Dolly Boogham's campaign. Well, the story keeps evolving and evolving, and it just gets uglier by the day. There's no other way to say it. We've got Gregor Robertson making a fool of himself on the floor of the House of Commons. We got a bunch of other stuff. Let's jump into this. Starting this episode off, we got this account, RMC86, breaking down the Liberal spending here. This is government planned spending 2026-27. The Liberal government spending plan is $502.8 billion. Planned deficit $65.4 billion, already forecast over $100 billion. Debt interest is greater than $1 for every 10. More than national defense. Indigenous service spending has tripled in the last decade. More spent on Indigenous services than public works, natural resources, immigration, RCMP, corrections, transport, agriculture, border services, shared services, the CBC, and fisheries combined. That is what we see here. Moving ahead, we've got Michelle breaking down Carney's top 5 airplane catering expenses in the past year. Greece, UAE, South Africa, and Spain was $158,000 on airplane catering. How? We don't know. Are his plates lined in gold? Rome, $93,000. London, $52,000. Brussels, $49,000. Mexico, $33,000. He flew to Mexico. He flew back, $33,000. How do you spend that on food? I don't get it. Moving ahead, we got this one from Blacklock's reporter showing that there's 28% more staff than inmates in our federal prisons. That's right. So $4 billion prison system has a quarter more employees than prisoners in custody. New figures show staff outnumber inmates, even with job cuts proposed this year. This is so absurd. It says there's 14,837 inmates in penitentiaries nationwide. Employees are 19,024, including over 12,000 frontline staff, a ratio of almost one guard for every inmate. Make this make sense. We have plenty of criminals on the streets that should be in these jails. But of course, the Liberals don't want it that way. They want those people terrorizing us and making our lives miserable. Moving ahead, we've got that hot mic moment that I mentioned in the previous video. We've got conservative Billy Morin here saying he won't cross the floor.
You want to run a story on floor crossing?
Are you the next one?
No, they're trying to poach me.
Are they?
Oh, yeah.
You're in a room of reporters.
Yeah. Is that a surprise?
They're asking you to move?
Is that to NDP or?
Yeah, not the NDP. I'm sure they're asking every single member of parliament, every single one. They're probably even asking Pierre. That's how greedy the Liberals are. Moving ahead to the by-elections here, Mark Carney sweeps all 3 of them. The Terrebonne riding was very close. As Ryan Garrettson pointing out, Toronto is stuck in an endless Liberal loop. The electoral system in Canada is completely broken. It's quite something that they have an NDP who was a deputy leader of the Ontario Party switch over to the Liberals and then brag about winning. Is this throwing your morals out the window? There are no values in this Liberal Party.
Tonight, we celebrate something so powerful. Not just this incredible campaign, but a community coming together, putting aside their differences to choose hope, compassion, and progress.
Really? Compassion, progress. This just dropped today. We got Cosman here of Juno News sharing Clay Domain's work here. This guy's also from Juno News. This is going to be a hard one to read out here. Exclusive text show convicted sea predator offered teen access to Begum Liberal campaign. What do I say to this stuff? Like, the prisons are empty. Can we just put one and one together here? There's not that many people in the prisons. One guard for every inmate. We got some room. Convicted bad guy and former Islamic school educator Yusuf Ali Tulukdar. It's the same story. It just keeps getting worse and worse. It says he led Team Dolly Burgum group chat and offered to bring somebody in believed to be a teen to the campaign office. Text messages obtained by Juno News from an anonymous source suggested the convicted bad guy here, we'll just call him the Wolf Man, was more involved in organizing Scarborough Southwest Liberal candidate Dolly Burgum's campaign than her team previously portrayed, and even offered to bring in someone he believed to be 15 years old to Begum's campaign office. This story just keeps getting uglier and uglier by the day. The Wolf Man needs to be locked away. According to a source, Juno News agreed to keep this anonymous. The Wolf Man here, Islamic educator. How did the journalist not ask Mark Carney a question about this, or 2 or 3 or 5? At the next press conference, if somebody does not ask him about the Wolfman, then we know 100% without a shadow of a doubt that our media has been completely corrupted. Disgusting people. What did Mark Carney say our values are now? Yeah, values. Mark Carney's values are making money at any cost. It doesn't matter if Canadian suffering is the price that has to be paid. Can't wait for all those liberals who've been talking nonstop about the Epstein files for months to call this out and demand her resignation. Yeah, sure. No kidding. Yeah, that's not happening. More Liberal Party values. Disgusting. Unbelievable. Well, briefly touch on the by-elections here. You can see mainstream media obviously framing this exactly how Mark Carney wants this. Carney secures majority government with Liberal win into Toronto by-elections. No mention of floor crossers, 5 floor crossers. That's why he won this, is because of floor crossers. It's an undemocratic majority. Obviously, CBC is corrupt and they're not going to frame it that way. Same thing with CTV News. Carney's Liberal secure majority government clinching by-election wins. They're not going to talk about floor crossers and undemocratic win. And looking at the numbers here, Liberals get 64% of the votes here in University Rosedale. Chrystia Freeland's riding. NDP getting 18.9%, Conservatives 12.4%. The next riding here, Scarborough Southwest, Liberals 69.9, 18.4% for the Conservatives, and NDP was 6%. And the Terrebonne riding, been following this as it's gone along. The Bloc were leading this up until the very end, and well, just suddenly the Liberals got enough votes. 48.8% for the Liberals and 46.8% for the Bloc. You can see most of the Conservatives voted for the Bloc as it dropped down to 3.3%, but 1,500 votes, if even 1,000 of these people that voted Conservative voted for the Bloc, the Liberals would not have got this seat. It's a difference of 700 votes. And this is 100% tallied now. You can see down here. So this is the official final results. And we can see Shrey Teese here posting this as this was happening. The Bloc were leading at one point, 49.3 to 46.4. Somewhere along the line that switched. I thought this was such a great tweet here by Shrey Teese saying, the biggest savior of the Liberal Party is not Mark Carney, it's Jagmeet Singh. Yeah, Jagmeet Singh's one decision there to not take down the government around Christmas of 2024 was a defining moment in ruining Canada. There's been widespread poverty, starving, people ending themselves, all because of Jagmeet Singh's one decision there. Businesses leaving Canada. It'll go down as one of the worst things that has ever happened to our country in a single moment. Obviously, this still gets directly pinned on Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney for tanking our country, but as a single hinge moment, Jagmeet Singh is a complete disgrace. Some dark times here in Canada. I mean, the cost of living is out of control. Let's just go back to a clip from yesterday. Melissa Lantsman talking about generational windfalls, the Liberal government getting billions of dollars with the increase of oil prices. It doesn't matter which Liberal's talking. They all seem to not care.
Because with every $10 of increase in oil prices, the Liberals get $2 billion more in tax revenue. That means Liberals are collecting a generational windfall at the pumps, while Canadians pay more for everyday essentials.
Suppose for a moment, Mr. Speaker, that there is a generational windfall. I know what the Conservatives wouldn't spend it on. They sure wouldn't spend it on training for young people because they voted against that. Yep. They sure wouldn't spend it on building the kind of infrastructure that communities need while creating great paying union jobs because they voted against that.
Great paying union jobs. The Liberals are running the union jobs out of Canada. And you talk about training for Canadians. Canadians can't get jobs because the Liberals keep bringing in too many people from South Asia. They have destroyed the futures of young Canadians. The audacity of these people to even utter these words, it's disgusting.
They sure wouldn't spend it on student food programs or affordable early learning and childcare.
You guys are putting 1 in 4 Canadians in poverty. I can't believe she has the gall to say these words.
What would they spend any kind of tax earnings on? Not Canadians.
Next up, we got a Conservative here. I don't really know who this guy is, but he's dropping some truth bombs.
Mr. Speaker, last fall the media reported that Regina's new federally subsidized electric buses could run for only 3 hours per day in the winter. But in response to a written question, the Liberals said that they, quote, have not been made aware of any instances where battery electric buses were unable to operate in cold weather. That's anywhere in the country. How is it possible for the Liberals to be so unaware of billions of dollars of waste, and why do they continue to throw money at buses that won't work in Canadian winters?
Great question.
Michael nailing it here. I mean, we've already seen this in Edmonton. They should already have learned of what happened in Edmonton. They bought a bunch of these buses. It's the same thing. They don't work. They can run for a couple hours. Then they have to park them. And then the buses are messed up. The company goes bankrupt. And then they have these buses and they can't service them. They have to sell them or whatever. It's every single time. Until this technology is proven, we shouldn't be buying them. These are basically like prototypes, and we're paying the price for them to fund these companies that a lot of them go bankrupt because they're garbage products. And sure, even if they do work in some countries in more temperate climate, they don't work here.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the opportunity for member opposite to let me highlight the work that is going into the Canada Public Transit Fund and to the Zero Emission Transportation Fund. We have opportunities to invest in zero emission transportation, battery electric buses. Technology is improving by the month.
Oh, that's right. We have the opportunity to invest in technology that doesn't work in our climate, but technology is improving by the month. The technology in those buses does not increase by the month. And when it's built, that's it. So we have crappy buses that don't work only 3 hours a day. That's what we're stuck with. Technology increasing doesn't make those buses better. We'd have to buy new buses. And why is he answering the question? Who's the Minister of Transport now? Okay, so it's this clown here. Stephen McKinnon is the now Minister of Transport. These guys, they change hats so often. When I first started doing these videos a couple years ago, I thought it was really weird that you'd have these people just change jobs. You should have someone who's got mastery in an area like transportation to be able to run this file, to have this portfolio. Instead, they just shuffle these clowns around. If they do a bad job, oh, here, try another portfolio, try another one. They just keep whoever will lick the boots of Mark Carney, or back in the day, Justin Trudeau, and not who's actually best qualified for the job. I mean, we've got a guy who's been a disaster for housing in the city of Vancouver running Canada's housing portfolio in Gregor Robertson.
There are battery electric buses operating in many cities across Canada. Edmonton is currently the city with the lead. Edmonton, as some of the members opposite will know, is fairly far north in Canada. And those buses...
Really? You're going to bring up Edmonton? Gregor, why? Electric buses are a disaster for every Canadian city that tries them. This is just from December 22nd, 2025. We're talking 4 months ago. This article came out. Regina is the latest city to report problems with unreliable battery-powered transit. That's what Michael just brought up. Edmonton lawyer claimed that none of the buses have ever achieved 328 kilometers on a single charge, and that on average, the bus range had been approximately 165 kilometers in winter and at best 250 kilometers in warmer weather. In 2024, Proterra was bought out and exited bankruptcy, but the faulty buses remain in Edmonton. These have been a complete disaster. He brings up these Edmonton buses. Why would he do it? The company that built them, Proterra, filed for bankruptcy. Edmonton joined in on the bankruptcy proceedings, claiming that it was owed $82 million for the bus fiasco. And he thinks these buses are a good idea.
Buses are running well, so there is evidence around the world that battery electric buses will deliver good transportation.
I just showed you, they deliver at best less than half of the estimated distance, 168 kilometers when they say 328, and it's 250 in the summer. This is great for pushing a net zero agenda. It's terrible for people taking the bus and taxpayers. Jumping ahead here, we've got the Reclamaire estimating the cost of EV chargers. I showed this in a previous video. It was $80 billion. Put enough EV chargers across Canada. Well, he's gone another step here, showing how much it would take to upgrade the infrastructure, the electricity grid, to be able to support all these EVs, and it's right here, $684 billion, so all Canadians could drive EVs. Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. Moving ahead, we've got BYD is coming to Canada. How excited are you? I'm not excited for this. Speaking of Chinese EVs, they tested them in winter among most other EVs in Norway. DTV running a 8-minute pro-Chinese EV marketing piece, doing the government's work for it.
So this spring could see the start of Chinese-made EVs arriving in Canada. What can consumers expect, and how do they stack up against Canadian weather? We've got CAA's Julie Buen, who recently joined the world's largest EV winter test drive in Norway to find out. And she joins us this morning, is about to accept just over 49,000 Chinese EVs into the market this spring. So this test, this trip that you went on might have been quite revealing. So tell us about the trip to Norway.
So our sister club in Norway, Norge Automobile Forg, at NAF.
Okay.
They've been doing this test for about 10 years. They do it in the summer and in the winter. It is probably the most respected EV test because it's done in real world conditions. So if you drive an EV and they say, oh, you know what, your charge range is going to be X, Y, or Z in the winter, those cars are tested in 23 degrees Celsius laboratories.
Okay.
So this is a real world test. And I can tell you that you're seeing the visual on screen there. It was minus 27 up in the mountains. It was cold. It was the coldest test they've ever done with 26 vehicles. And, you know, it was quite revealing what the results were. But this test, automotive manufacturers send their cars. One was flown in overnight so that they could take part in this. That's how important it is to manufacturers.
Okay, so you were a co-pilot and an observer in, what, over 20 vehicles?
26 vehicles they brought in, yes.
Okay, what did you find? How did it go?
So it was interesting because there's the really flashy looking ones and then the ones, I was in a little commuter vehicle. Everyone was laughing at us. We tied for first on range.
On range, okay.
Right? So basically the first part of the test is you go up into the mountains for 400 kilometers and you test the range of the vehicle in these very cold conditions. The second day of the test is how fast they charge after they've been warmed up for 2 hours.
So Julie, tell me how far, what was the range?
So jumping to the punchline here, who had the best EVs?
As well as American EVs, or was
Correct.
it all the...
Yep, there was Volvo, there was Tesla, there was BYD, Voya.
Okay, so I'll just break it down. Most of these ones at the top of their test here were Chinese EVs. You can see these red flags are China, China, China. These are Korea. We've got Germany, Japan, more Germany, America here. So the best American one was Tesla Model Y. They're blubbering over the MG S6, this Chinese EV, as the best for this test.
And out of the 26, the top 6 were Chinese. And then there were some Koreans in there.
Okay. All right.
They blew away the competition,
Really?
which is a completely different story from 5 years ago, where they were having trouble with cabin heat and all these other issues. The Chinese, the technology has taken off unbelievably. They've got vehicles that will charge at 1,000 kilowatts. Chargers in Canada are 50 kilowatts. It means that it means that they can plug in and it will charge faster than you can fill up petrol.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, that
Really? Wow.
is fast. So
It's so fast. That's great. It's not a surprise. The government is propping up that industry and they're trying to make that a major market. They're dumping billions of dollars in there to be the best at it because they missed the boat on ICE vehicles. I've seen some videos and a lot of those Chinese EVs are very impressive. They've got moving seats and all sorts of bells and whistles. That's not the problem here. It's the spyware technology. It's the surveillance that they bring into our country. That is the problem.
their charging capability is exemplary.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, except in Canada, we wouldn't have chargers fast enough to even charge those vehicles. Once again, the Chinese government is spending the money to invest in all of that. They're investing in wind and solar and all that because they have limited oil and gas supplies compared to, say, Venezuela or Canada or Saudi Arabia, the Middle East. They're working within their geography. But of course, on mainstream media here, they're like, oh, it's so great, these Chinese EVs. Everyone go buy a Chinese EV. That's what they're basically making this sound like.
Canadian winters.
We're
talking minus 20 degrees.
Or
colder. Because there's been a lot of talk of range anxiety. Those people who have an EV worry about the range, how far they can go, especially in the winter, because apparently the cold just kind of sucks the power out of these batteries, but not with the EVs that you tested.
Well,
the cold doesn't suck the power out. They're less efficient because the chemical reaction inside the battery is slower. There's more resistance for lithium ions to travel through the battery's electrolyte. In reality, these batteries operate best at about 20 degrees Celsius. So you notice here, they'll talk about the range, but they don't tell what the range is. How bad was it?
some of them did. I mean, obviously, every car degraded over the lab results, right? But they hung on a lot faster. The Chinese ones hung on longer. There are some issues with the Chinese vehicles.
So it's not perfect.
It's not perfect. Right?
It's not perfect, but go buy a Chinese EV. So in reality, we're back to the same problem that hasn't been fixed. How well do EVs perform at minus 32? You can see here, the extreme temperatures impacted the vehicle's ranges with these record low temperatures causing range reductions averaging 38% when compared to worldwide harmonized light vehicle test procedure, as in 38% of your battery out the window. So if you have a 1,000-kilometer range, you've lost 380 kilometers on an EV charge. Although there's not EVs with 1,000 range, but 38% reduction. And we've got this one here. Lucid Air proves it is the king of range when it comes to EVs during a Norway winter test, and it went 519 kilometers. This is the absolute furthest during this test. So once again, the same problem here in Canada. We have a giant country, cold country, and EVs just don't have the range. Maybe they will in the future, better technology, more charging stations. It has to be a whole bunch of things, but how much is this going to cost us? When Canadians can't afford food, should this really be the top priority? And tying this back in with the previous story, it's the tiny, small Chinese EVs that's getting billions of dollars dumped into them to make them highly efficient, very light, that we're doing the best in winter, as opposed to giant EV buses that are not fuel efficient, they're heavy, they're carrying a ton of people, and they're not aerodynamic. And yet the Liberal government is trying to force us to have those in our cities when they're clearly a bad technology for a bus. It's almost like they're pushing these ideological buses on us because somebody's getting rich off of it.